Does anybody have a question or comment? Or we've answered all your questions in advance. Or there's the lady with the white shirt with the green piping.
Thank you so much. My name is Margaret from CJPD. I appreciate each and everyone at the dais. Corruption is a mountain, and we have to climb the mountain to ensure that all our expectations are met. My feeling is this, or what I would comment on is, as we watch people spend and misuse our funds, we should also again ask ourselves, what role am I playing at the grassroots? Taking an example of my ward, if there's a project being run there by the governor, when I make a comment, which I think most of you may have done it, that comment is on how are you using these materials. For example, it's a road that is being constructed. You watch them giving maybe have an inch of tarmac. When you ask a question, they will tell you, okay, this is what we have been provided. The reason is this. Before that road was put or was passed on, we've not had enough information on how that road is going to be done. The one who has been given the contract hides the documents, or whoever is giving or passing the contract has not informed the citizens or the ward residents that a certain road is being put. So we have given so and so as the contractor, and we have the description is as it is. So when you ask a question, the contractor will tell you, this is what I've been provided with. When you move on to the governor to ask, why is this one happening, you are given threats, because they fear that you will enroute on the corruption being done. So my request is, as citizens, can we move and pinpoint the corrupt guys at the grassroots, so that as we get to our MPs who are constructing walls using CDF fund and such like, they give strangers those contracts so that you cannot get to know who is doing what. So as we watch the MPs and whoever is there mishandling our money, let us also go there and ensure that we ask a question. It's like, anyway, trying to put off fire with a few drops of water, but at least you have made a point. That is my take home.
Thank you very much. I guess the question revolves around transparency in contracting, and we've got some examples from around the world. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. Using very simple, non-technological methods, for example, the MKSS movement in Rajasthan that paints what the money that has been assigned to the community in the framework of government programs, and that's painted on the walls where everybody can see it, and they have the information, and we could also do things like that in Kenya. Nothing prevents us from doing so. Obviously, the question of follow-up is important. You have a question in the, yes?
Yes. Thank you very much, Madam. And I also thank the panelists for enabling us to gather here in order to actually reflect on the performance of the government within the past 3 years. Very quick, I'll go to some of the key highlights that have caught my attention. Number one, we are talking about our country going in the wrong direction. And that is actually tied to the transparency and the accountability part of it. Allow me to refer us to the Constitution of Kenya 2010, Chapter 6, which is dealing with leadership and integrity. My take is, why is it that we have gone to draft a conflict of interest bill Yet we have a chapter in the Constitution that has actually failed to put the political elite into question whenever they are caught up with corruption. And I feel that with the conflict of interest bill, it is something that should have been added, should have been drafted after we have enabled the codification of the leadership and integrity bit of our political space. Yes, so you'll find that there are lots of loopholes that are being created, and even with this bill, from where I sit, I'm seeing that we are going to do more harm than good, because there are other areas that will not be addressed. And to summarize that bit is that what else can we do to actually shed more light or actually strengthen Chapter 6 of the Constitution, because I feel that is something that we need to look at. Number 2, the previous speaker has just talked about the role of religious institutions in fighting corruption. Yes, there are some sections of the religious institutions that have been at the forefront in fighting against corruption, but I still feel that the political elite have also captured our religious institutions. Yes, because in as much as the Catholics and the Anglicans are actually vocal about fighting against corruption, what about these other existing mainstream churches? We've rarely had the clergy from the AIC, for example, the Adventists, for example, actually coming so strongly against this vice called corruption. So what else can we do in order to deliver the religious institutions from the state capture that we are currently seeing? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll take 2 more questions. I'm sorry, but we've got the gentleman in the jeans jacket and someone way at the back who's raised their hand. I can't see them. It's kind of dark back there. Excuse me. Please remember to state your name and any affiliation you may have.
I'm sorry I didn't introduce myself.
Sorry.
My name is Isaac Mongare. I'm from the Institute for Development Studies, University of Nairobi.
Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Commander John from Uraia Trust, and it's always listen to this kind of research, of course, supported by AfriCOG. My concern is regarding what has been mentioned by the speakers who have spoken today. We are seeing an increased interest amongst the youth to be at the forefront in championing for anti-corruption movement. And I think that is quite in line with this year's theme of the International Anti-Corruption Day, uniting the youth. And I'm just seated here wondering, how can we be able to galvanize this kind of interest and youth activism? We're seeing, for example, on X, a lot of people are getting concerned and are taking a lead in speaking out against bad governance practices. So I'm seated here wondering, how can we be able to support, how can we be able to sustain this kind of movement and use it as a dividend to push ourselves forward in the fight? I'm sure probably some of the speakers or anyone in the room might have some ideas, and I think one of them is, I look at it from a value-based perspective. Yeah, someone once said that corruption starts when you are young, when you are told you are given an incentive to do something and it grows. I don't know, probably you can reflect about it. And I know not very long ago, we had a report, I think, that said most young people are willing to take a bribe or are willing to get corrupt to of course, to do some. I mean, they're corruptible and they are ready to take any anti-corruption, corruption motive to do something. So I'm just wondering what insights the speakers would have and anyone in the room. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And the gentleman at the... So I'm sorry, I hadn't seen you. So those two are the last ones. We really do have to stop. This won't be the last time we'll be doing this. We will have other opportunities to engage. I want to apologize for not giving you enough opportunities to do so, but we intend to have other engagements, and our friend from Uraya just spoke, and I'm sure he will be able to assist us in doing that. So, Madam, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Vicky Rajoro from Interreligious Council of Kenya Youth. I'm here trying to analyze, or to help me analyze, whereby devolution came to help and assist the people from the grassroots. In this case now, devolution have become even more intense. When it comes to where counties are more corrupt, governance are doing, I don't know how I'll put it in Christian way or in religious manner. I won't want to say rogue per se, because it's past rogue. As I would like to put in your organization, in which case do you do the follow-ups on what is happening on the grassroots levels, and also how are you making them accountable, especially in this case where now you get a county has 300 and something accounts, and no one is ready to explain to the citizens what are the accounts for. I had some days back, not 2 days, when the report came out about the accounts, and our governor from Nairobi was like, we can't handle our budget with the only 2 or 3 accounts. In which case is there a policy in this country that says a county should have this particular account, and if not, for accountability purposes of the citizen? How can citizen understand where their monies are going? Because I can put it in Nairobi, they take a lot of revenue, especially I can say $1 billion in months. I would like to know, mostly as a transparency, especially NGO, to at least give us, is there any way, as you do always put the watchdogs on the corrupt areas, how do they do that, at least accountable for that? Thank you.
Thank you very much. And the last question, please. The gentleman at the back, please. And if you keep your question short, perhaps we can squeeze in the gentleman who seemed to have something to say.
Yes, maybe you should say it first. He seems not to have been pleased that it was bypassed.
My name is Alan Wandera from Kenya News Agency. We've interacted before, but I think I was not contented being a Gen Z in this generation, and I'm really bold to fight corruption. Don't you think that it is possible to take basic civic education to the rural and marginalized areas in our country, rather than focusing to the intellects who know how to read and write? It will be a very great privilege if we interact with the citizens in the rural and marginalized areas as AfriCOG by partnership with the churches and justice centers in our rural areas. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was a I think a suggestion, not so much a question. It's a very good one. No single organization can do all this work themselves, and working in partnership with those who can amplify and disseminate the message and collaborating with them is obviously a very important strategy. Thank you for that. The last speaker.
Thank you very much. I'm Suba Churchill, and thank you. I'm here courtesy of the invite you extended to Paddy Onyango, and which came through to a WhatsApp group that I'm a member of. And I'm sorry I came in late. I thought Sam Mwaura would be bold enough to say it is time CDF was declared untenable. You know, disbanding those constituency development committees doesn't help much. This is a fund that has been declared unconstitutional several times. I've seen the latest maneuver by MPs to put together a committee to figure out how to make it constitutional. And I was wondering how they will manage to do that, because as long as their roles remain oversight, lawmaking, and representation, I do not see how even entrenching that will sit with the principles of separation of powers that is already entrenched in the Constitution. That's one. So would you not be bold enough to say you agree with the several court rulings, Sam Mwaura, that the reality is that MPs patronize and are the ones who run, literally like development officers, and direct how much is allocated for what, and who gets how much in terms of bursary and so on and so forth. Interestingly, a survey that was being conducted by EACC ahead of today's anti-corruption day had this question on its social media for young people to respond. And they said, as a young person, what do you do when you encounter corruption? 19% said they would report it. 23% said they would remain silent. And 58% said they'll engage in it. Of course, the temptation with such statistics is to apportion blame and say these young people are also as corrupt as the old ones. But you would understand why such responses come, because people who are corrupt are the ones that are seen to be successful, either politically or even religiously. Of course, Sam Mwaura, I know, is affiliated with the religious institutions. We have worked with him through Christian Partnership and professionals. And so, what do we learn from this? How do we build the capacity? So again, back to Sam Mwaura. If you say citizens don't engage, is it an issue of capacity, and how do we build capacity? Because I've always held the view that ever since we gave unto ourselves a new constitution, we have not, sufficiently gone back to the people to educate them on the letter and the spirit and the principles that they are in the constitution. And it so happened that the same year that we adopted the new constitution, our country apparently was upgraded to a middle income economy. And the donors streamed to other more deserving countries and left us with a constitution that, yes, was very good, but very few people know about it, and we have not, even as civil society actors, mobilized sufficient resources to reach out to citizens so that we can empower them. Because I think if you build the capacity of the demand side, rather than waste resources as some organizations do, I see them educating MCAs, rather than citizens who would increase demand. I think many more MCAs like the one we saw in Syokimau would be walked through a muddy road just to help them experience what citizens are going through. But then as the citizens did that in Syokimau, I was asking myself, where were these citizens when this road that was being exposed by Citizen TV was being done? Is it that there was no project committees involving citizens and so on? So again, it goes back to issues of capacity, which I think from your presentation, Sam, I think there is insufficient capacity among citizens.
Thank you very much.
To know what they're supposed to do and engage in governance processes.
Thank you. I think we were going to allow one last speaker over there, and that's it.
Thank you. I am Denson Machuki. I work with the Loyola Center for Media and Communications.
Can you keep the mic a little bit further from?
It's
Thank
okay.
you. Yeah.
This is a Catholic apostolate. We have a project we call Angaza Dialogue Platform. We also discuss corruption in Kenya. I'm here on behalf of my boss, Dr. Elias Mokua, SJ. Now, I'm concerned that we have interest to address corruption in Kenya. The young people, the so-called Gen Z, have shown great interest to address corruption in Kenya. We are here, civil society organizations, discussing how to end corruption in Kenya with a lot of interest. The other side, we have the government. And we have seen also the interest from the church that it is fighting corruption by all means and even returning the millions to the government. Now, why are all these three institutions not here? We only have CSOs. Where is the church here? Where are the youth? Do we have a big number of them? The theme this year is the youth against corruption. What if we all came together, the church, the youth, and the CSOs, to really drum up support for against corruption across the country? I know it cannot be done by only one organization, but what if all of us came together and pulled all the resources required to really ensure the information reaches even to the last person in the village, that today is World Anti-Corruption Day, the theme is Youth Against Corruption, and let us all come out and fight this so that the government will feel the pressure. Right now I feel like we are divided. The church is on its own. They will speak on Sunday or whichever day. Then the CSOs will speak on their own day. Then the Gen Zs will speak on the internet. Will the government feel the pressure, or they'll just use that platform and find a way to penetrate through to 2027? Right now the pressure is so much on social media. Why don't we take advantage of the already existing interest from the youth, from the church, and the CSOs and really pressure this thing out? Because I know there is will, and we know we can really root out corruption in Kenya. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we come back to the panel. I'll leave it to you, the questions which you feel were directed to you, which you'd like to answer. And let's try and do it as briefly as possible. So, Sheila?
Yes, thank you very much. And thank you all for your questions and your comments. I think from my colleague from Uraia on what can we do more about the youth. Is that John? Hi, John. So it is, I think, for us, especially for us working in the civil society and even the religious sector and others, what we need to do now is encourage them to even do more in terms of demanding for accountability. Affirm. When they come out, we need to affirm them because they need solidarity as well. You know, this fight can often be a very lonely fight. Many times you can be stigmatized, ostracized, and so it helps that we show solidarity and affirm them. I'm looking at this report and all the contents and the information that is here. You know, it's a treasure trove of information on what has been happening in this country in regard to corruption. How can we share it with those young people, you know, our people on X, TikTok, and all those other platforms, so that they can be able to speak to some of these issues that have been highlighted in the report and just enhance the advocacy that they have really done so well this year. There was a question around I can't remember whether it was a lady, you asked something about it, but I wanted to reply to it looking at the issues around behavior change. Yeah, in terms of what can we do more. I think we now need to really push for this issue called behavior change in regard to how people react to issues around corruption. And I'll link this to what Suba Churchill has highlighted in regard to that tweet on the ESCC handle about what youth say or what they think about corruption and their engagement in it. I think we really need to push this aspect of behavior change and move from awareness and attitude to action. Let people start acting on corruption. And this is where I keep on telling government, this is where the focus should be. Sometimes when we think about enforcement, that should maybe only constitute 10% of our effort. 90% or more should be on preventing corruption. Part of preventing corruption is learning and relearning on values, ethics, and integrity. And the youth in Kenya seem to be ready for this, looking at what happened in the country 3 months ago, and now that they have seemed to take leadership on issues around accountability. How can we work with them even more to ensure that there's a greater constituency of young people who are standing for the right thing? And this goes to the comments around what can we do with the rural population. I always say, let's not leave them behind. And these are things that we need to replicate. But as Gladwell said, we are sometimes overwhelmed as small institutions, very small institutions. You see us here, sometimes it's just big names. I keep on joking. People call me international. Hakuna international hapo. I'm as local as they come. So we also struggle with resources. We are not able to do what we need to do, ideally, but we try through partnership, and we will continue to partner with the church, with the young people. I think some may answer that question around the youth, church, and CSOs. How can we work better together? Thank you.
Now, the last speaker raised the most important issue that we need to deal with, and that is the issue of the partnership between the religious organizations, the youth, and CSOs. And what is required is for us to get technical support from the CSOs, specifically the CSOs that are here in charge of this conference. They provide us with the advocacy material that is required. Then we go and target specific counties and constituencies, and we hold specific leaders to account. So I go back to the proposal that we target the MPs because they have failed in the oversight, and we do a recall. We collect the number of signatures which are required. 2, we target them at the CDF committees. Before CDF is made more constitutional, we have enough material to go after the CDF committees, and they are corrupt because they are encouraged to do so by the MP, and they're in partnership with the MP. And thirdly, we go after the MP specifically himself or herself. We do a lifestyle audit. It is very easy. We know the assets that they have acquired in the last 2 years. And EACC is willing to work with us. We petitioned EACC to carry out lifestyle audit, and any asset that the MP cannot explain is forfeited to government. That is the law. And then we start the process of organizing communities under an umbrella at the county, and we are benefiting from the work that has been done by USAID. They have organized 11 counties, the umbrellas at the county level. So we deepen that organization down to the ward, using the model we have tested very, very well and very successfully here in Kilereshwa and in one rural ward of Dendero in Kiambu County. It works. And we then finally partner with the church, because the church is the one that has the reach. And therefore, the challenge that you would be giving us is to now move from the discussion that we've had in today's meeting and the report that we have launched into piloting specific action in a few counties. And you will be amazed at what we can get by way of results. Thank you.